talk about tone, okay, the essence of jazz playing. A lot of times, students will just get the music, and they have fantastic classical chops, or great chops, generally, okay? And they'll start, and they'll just work straight on the etudes, okay? But then they kind of hit a wall. They think, why is this just not sounding better? They may have the technique down, they may not, but in essence, they just hit a wall because they're doing nothing but working on the etudes, when really they need to be working on the fundamentals. So just like in classical playing, in jazz, most of our time should be spent on just the fundamentals. So let's talk about developing tone first, okay? I play both classical and jazz, and I have to flip a switch when I do it. I'm sure it's the same with all the other guys in the room. I have a totally different conception of what the saxophone should sound like, what articulation sounds like, even what my technique does. And then from when I go from jazz and to classical. And the way to do that is, well, let's talk about it. What's the number one thing you can do to develop your tone? The number one thing. We'll go over our first.
Mouthpiece exercises.
Mouthpiece exercises, that's a really good thing, but it's not the number one thing.
Listen to other players?
Absolutely. That's by far the most important thing that you can do to develop your tone. Who are some great classical saxophonists to listen to? Don Cinta, Fred Hemke, Eugene Rousseau. So those are great classical saxophonists to listen to. My journey through saxophoning is a little bit different. I started out as a jazzer, my undergraduate, I focused in jazz studies, and then my scope broadened, if you will, and I really started to fall for classical saxophone. And so I went and got my master's and my doctorate in performance, but I had a lot of makeup to do. And so the biggest thing that helped me was listening. I listened all the time. And in fact, what I would do is I would spend a lot of times with the recordings and playing along with the recordings. I remember playing, I don't know how many times I played with Eugene Rousseau's recording of Fantasia Concertante, the Haydn Fantasia Concertante, just over and over and over and over, because I love that sound that he had in that recording. So, we need to do the same thing with jazz, okay? The exact same thing to develop our tone. Can anyone give me some names of some jazz saxophonists? Jazz saxophonists. Charlie Parker. That's a great one. Yes. Okay.
Gerhard Treat.
Who?
Gerhard Treat.
I'm not familiar with him. You know? How do you spell it?
Gerhard
Okay, cool. All right, sounds good. I haven't heard of him. I need to check him out now. Okay?
Lenny Niehaus.
Lenny, yeah. A lot of people know Lenny Niehaus from he has a bunch of like the early jazz conception books, but man, he's got a box set of CDs. I can't get enough of Lenny Niehaus. I love his alto sound and his playing. His lines are they're perfect. He's like the Mozart of bebop, even though he's kind of cool jazz. Coltrane, John Coltrane, okay? Jerry Mulligan, yeah. Okay, he's a bari player. Those are good places to start. And to be honest, if you go and you Google Charlie Parker, he played in the really early part of the recording industry. And so you're not going to hear some great recordings of him. If you check out Bird and Strings, that has good audio quality. You can get a really good sense of his tone. His lines, of course, are perfect, and we may get into working with the Omni book and how important that is, the Charlie Parker Omni book. So, this is a good place to start. Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, Jerry Mulligan.
Sonny Stitt.
Absolutely. Sonny Stitt. Alto and tenor, man. His alto playing is just on fire, and I really dig his tenor playing too, his tenor tone. Don Bias. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of people. Dexter Gordon. That's a definite one. Simply for his tone. Okay. You need to be. If you're a tenor player, you have to have some Dexter Gordon in your sound. Okay. Yeah.
Stan Getz.
Absolutely. He's probably my all-time favorite tenor player.
Man, that sound.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it Kenny G?
Kenny G. Well, if you're going for smooth, hey. Now I know we all bash on Kenny G, but I tell you what, that man has made way more money than all of us put together. Blowing hot air through a brass tube, doing what we do. Yeah. So, and he's got a good business mind too. He was one of the first investors in Starbucks. So, beyond playing the saxophone,
Smart guy.
kind of a good investor too. You know, so hey, if you want to get into pop and smooth jazz, you should probably listen to Kenny G. You know, you're not going to sound good sounding like Charlie Parker playing smooth jazz. It's just not going to jive. Okay? It depends on what you want to sound like. I mean, there's gigs that I do where I have to play pop music, and they don't want to hear a bunch of John Coltrane lyrics, right? They want to hear something nice and pretty. A bunch of 50-year-old ladies, man. You know, they just want to hear nice, pretty music. So it depends on what the gig is, right? Okay. But I know where you're coming from. Okay, so listening is number one. Let's put this up, if you would, type this out. A great way to listen and play along with the recording to really get the style and the phrasing and the tone down is Jim Snydero's Jazz Conception. Okay, there's a series of 3 books, Jim Snydero Jazz Conception. It's outstanding. So you can play along with him. His alto tone is killer. Okay, he's a UNT alumni. He's one of the top guys in New York. So check out Jim Snydero's Jazz Conception. Get his easy books. Get the first one and start working with that. Okay, I have the Omni book. Remind me if we have time, we'll talk about the Omni book. That's what you would do next. After you've been listening for a while, then you want to start working with playing along with someone to get the Snydero Jazz Conception. Then, after you've worked through that series, go to the Charlie Parker Omni book. Okay? Read the front page because that tells you how to use it. You do use it for 2 reasons. 1, you start slow and you gradually get faster until you can play along with the recording. And 2, you analyze it, listen to the recordings to steal licks from. That goes into improvisation. Okay, and then after you've gone through the Omni book, then you dive into just transcribing your own players. Okay? You start listening and learning everything by ear. Right? Learning it and writing it out. Okay? Now, beyond listening, let's talk about other things that we can do to develop our tone. Okay? Some stuff that we can do with the saxophone in our hand. Jazz and classical embouchures are different. Okay? With jazz, there's a lot more variety in how to play, but this is something that can just get you started. Bob Reynolds, who's familiar with Bob Reynolds? Yeah, he's a great guy to listen to too. He's modern. You know, he played with John Mayer, toured with John Mayer a lot. They're friends in Berkeley, but great, really cool cat. I got to meet him a year ago. Really nice guy. So anyway, he talks about playing with the jazz embouchure. Say the word foo, F-O-O, foo. Pay attention to your bottom lip, foo. It's just kind of sitting there. We don't want to like foo, just foo. And with that, you put your lips on the mouthpiece. So your lips slightly rolled out, and more reed is exposed. Okay? So foo. The other thing is you want to make sure that you're playing the mouthpiece at or below its centered pitch. So for example, soprano saxophone, you guys should be playing with the mouthpiece at a C. Okay? Alto saxophones, you should be playing with the mouthpiece at an A. Tenor saxophones, you should be playing with the mouthpiece at a G. And bass saxophones, you should be playing with the mouthpiece at a D. With that said, with jazz, you can play a lower pitch, and that's okay, especially when we get down to the subtone areas. But for now, where you guys are at, developing your jazz embouchure with your lips slightly rolled out, as if saying foo, and playing your mouthpiece, if you're on alto, at an A, will start to get you on the right path. And from there, you do a lot of listening. So,
Campbell, I have a question.
Yeah.
When you say foo and your bottom lip kind of pooches out, are you covering your bottom teeth at all?
No.
Or is it fully supported by the muscles in your chin?
It's almost entirely supported by the muscles of my chin. Here's another thing. Personally, as when I play classically, my chin is flat, right? Lip rolled in, and my chin is extremely flat. and I really get on my students for that. I think it affects the tone a lot. When I play jazz, boy, my chin's all bunched up. It looks terrible, right? Yeah, a big old strawberry chin, prune chin. Okay, but so your teeth are not really doing anything. They're just kind of sitting there, and it's all facial muscles. So if I play with a classical embouchure, obviously this is a setup. We can talk about that, but it's a jazz setup. That's all done with the embouchure and listening, right? I switch gears. Cool? So with that, can we go to the tone exercises? I think it's going to be the second page. Yeah, I really like to use this book. You guys, are you familiar with this? Raise your hand if you're familiar with this. All right, everybody in Texas is. And I've been teaching privately in Texas for about 5 years, and I've seen this blue book laying around forever. And I never even wanted to touch it, because I know you guys work at it all day long. But I picked it up, and I started analyzing to see how I could use it in my private teaching, and it's fantastic. What I recommend is that if you're using an alto book, like this one, you do long tone 1A and long tone 1C extended. If you'll notice, for example, long tone 1A, we go D, C sharp, D, D, C, D, D, B, D, and down it stops at G, but don't stop at G. Go all the way down to D, B flat, D, okay? And do it all slurred, no vibrato at 56 beats per minute. And just focus on your jazz embouchure. Everyone, let's try it real quick. Get your horns up, and we're gonna have some tenor and alto playing harmonies here. That's okay. I'll put the metronome on 56. Think about your embouchure. Say foo, foo. See, this can wake up. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Foo, foo. 1 and 2, 1, A, and go. Doing now, and then your private. Is everyone taking private lessons? You should get in private lessons if you're not. And once you've been doing that for a while, your teachers can give you some other exercises to do. Okay, so we have listening, right? Big deal, huge deal. Playing along with recordings, massive deal. Playing the mouthpiece and getting the right mouthpiece pitch. Having a good embouchure, and then doing long tone exercises. Those things will do wonders for your tone. If you don't do them, you will not have a good tone. Cool? It's that simple. I have students who will come into lessons and I'll say, oh, you don't practice long tones at all, do you? And they'll say, no. And I say, yeah, I can totally tell. It's completely obvious to the listener. They're boring, aren't they? If long tones aren't boring, you're doing them wrong. Okay? We got to do our long tones. Now, let's go ahead and talk about technique, okay? Same thing in jazz. We got to have great technique. Could we go to the next page? Okay, everyone familiar with this? Yeah. Oh yeah, we're all familiar with it. But now we're going to use this in a way to develop our technique for the jazz etudes. The first etude is in the key of our A, okay? And that's why we have this one up. Now, you'll notice that I have some different articulations in there. So if we were just playing it, in band, traditional music.